So just while I mention the recording, I put the first, you may have seen it, I put the first recording of one of these Zoom meetings on YouTube this week, and I had some great positive feedback, which is always nice. So I'll continue to do that. So I'll just make it clear that by participating in the meeting, you're giving your consent for the recording to be put onto YouTube or onto Facebook or to be made public. If you don't want to be made public, then you just don't speak. If you speak, it'll be on the recording, but otherwise nothing else will, because on the recording, it's just highlighted just me. And the only thing that would ever be on YouTube and made public would be your voice. Or maybe your name, if I call your name. So I'll just mention that. So now I've got to try and remember what on earth I just said, which is, I mean, things, nothing changes really, but it is noticeable that you can't remember what you just did or what you just said when there's no sense of you have said it. Now, you've probably experienced that yourself when you go, well, I haven't got a clue what I just said, or where the hell did that come from? Well, you could say they're clues. You could say they're how life really is. But of course, what me does in being the manager of my life, I like to know what I've said so that I can control it. Or at least have have a faint veil of the illusion that I'm in control of what I say and what I do. And really, that's what the message is, that that's all an illusion. There isn't anyone who is in control. That's why liberation is a reasonable word for what we're talking about, because life is simply free as it is, other than you saying you're controlling it and you're managing your own life. Well, there isn't a manager. There isn't a driver of the dream bus. I had a look at that today, but I was a spectator at the Dream Bus Live. If you've ever seen recordings of that, it was a brilliant weekend. I was never quite the same after that. And they're worth watching on YouTube, because there were 2 or 3 speakers at a time on a big stage, not agreeing with each other, which was great. If you watch it, as someone pointed out to me the other day, if you watch it, you can see me in the audience, laughing my head off, really enjoying it. And then wanted to kill a couple of the speakers who had a go at Lisa Cairns. How dare they? So the message is, there isn't anything else. There is just this. There is just simply this, because this is simple beyond simple. It's far too simple. There's no necessity for mind at all in getting this, because you can't get this. It's already got. There's nothing to get. There is seemingly, so there's nothing to be gained. There is seemingly a lot to be lost. But again, that's only illusory loss, you could say. The loss of everything that was mine. But because that you've taken yourself to be, is an illusion, then all of that losing everything that you've called mine, that's actually illusory. So the most incredible thing is that in the seeming loss of everything, nothing is lost. this can't be lost, and there is only this. What that it's beyond wonderful. It's beyond incredible. It's totally unknowable. You can't get any handle on it at all. In my seeking days, I used to listen to Alan Watts quite a bit, like some of you have, no doubt. Maybe earlier on. Maybe you've moved on. But you listen to Alan Watts a lot, and he always, why not listen to Alan Watts? Just his voice alone is worth listening to, regardless of what he said, because he spoke so beautifully. And he did speak beautifully about this in his own way, but he always quoted the Indian story of this untouchable, ungraspable nature of this, as like trying to catch a river in a bucket. So that's when you name this, when you say what this is, when you give this a label, when you try and contain this in any way, it's like saying, I've got the, you put the bucket in the river and you pull it out and you say, I've got the river. And that's the equivalent of what we're talking about. That's why the words I shouldn't give advice, but I'm giving you some advice here. Don't get ever stuck on any word and think that the word is what we're speaking about. Even if you've got a favorite word, or even if you've got a favorite speaker and the way they speak about it, don't think that they've got more of this or they've got a greater understanding of this than someone else. There is no understanding of this. This doesn't require any understanding. There isn't any knowledge of this. This has no requirement of any knowledge. It doesn't need to be known. It already is, without any knowing. Because I remember as a seeker, I was always drawn to certain words, certain expressions, and then if another expression of this seemed to contradict that or to be in conflict with it, then I made that the enemy or the problem. And of course, there isn't any right or wrong. There isn't any right way to speak about this. There isn't actually any right and wrong. We've made that up. Don't get me wrong when I say that. There's natural. So there isn't really any ethics or morality, but of course each human being is conditioned by its seeming history to have the morals and the ethics that it has. It's just that they might be seen to be just arbitrary. And if you grew up somewhere else with different parents and in a different culture, then of course that would be completely different. And no, there really isn't any, there's certainly no absolute morality or absolute ethics. And they become very light. And you don't, and also what's light is speaking about what you feel is right and wrong. What this feels is right and wrong. That's one of the great freedoms as well. It's just not your right and wrong. It's just a natural morality, you could say. Natural ethics, natural compassion, natural love. Because what traditionally what we call ethics or morality just makes me right and you wrong, unless you agree with me, and of course then you're right as well. And there isn't really any. So most of what I speak about, or what's spoken about this, is what this isn't. And the reason that it's mostly negating, or seems like it's talking about things that aren't, like me, and like time, and like space and places. The reason we talk about that is there isn't anything to say about this. So these talks are very paradoxical in that what's being spoken about can't be spoken. And so you tend to be, most of the speaking is about what this isn't rather than what this is. Because what this is everything. It's everything that could be spoken. And of course, as well as being everything, it's absolutely nothing at all. So as well as being everything that life has to offer as an appearance, as a happening, as a seeming something, all of that is equally, simultaneously, as well as being something, is completely nothing and totally empty. Now, once you've said that, you can only say that again and say it a few more times and keep saying it. But it doesn't change how things are. Things are just as they are. I think the bit that I like best about speaking about this is you can't get this wrong. You can't get this wrong. And how much effort did I make, does me make, in trying to get it right? Get my actions right, get my intention right. I always think of the Eightfold Path. I used to be an RE teacher. I don't know if you knew that. A really terrible RE teacher, religious education. So I taught Buddhism, having no idea what I was teaching, just a few lessons ahead of the kids. And then I came across the Eightfold Path. And I was quite attracted to Buddhism until I came across the Eightfold Path. And then I thought, shit, it's more work than Christianity. You had to get everything right. Everything had right in front of it. And I went, whoa, that sounds dreadful. All you could do was get it wrong. You know, right intention even, you know. So you were meant to control your intention. Well, intention happens way before the thought ever happens. So, and then you have a thought that, oh, I've thought that, that's wrong. So then you have to work on the thought as well as the intention. And then, of course, the intention the behavior happened. And so the behavior was wrong. So you had to work on the behavior, thought, intention, behavior.
What, hey, Kev, you know the big thing in the basement? Jesse knows about that big thing that's a mirror that's like that just goes through the mattress. Okay. All right.
Hi, who's that, Danny? No. Sorry, Danny, was that you?
So we just put it between the mattress and the box spring. It'll be fine.
Oops, sorry.
Oh, we've got a bit of feedback there. I'll just finish and then you can ask any questions in a minute. The thing is, once I stop speaking, I have no idea what I've just said or what's going to come next. That's the thing. That's tricky. Oh, that's fine. So we'll have some questions without any answers. Not any decent answers, anyway. I quite often speak about this as the peace that passes all understanding, and a lot of the peace is the absence of questions. That's really a big part of the space and peace that life seemingly is without questions. Without questioning, why is life as it is? How is life as it is? What is life as it is? There's just no need to know. Life is all happening all by itself. All by itself is a funny phrase for a non-dual speaker, isn't it? And of course, when I say life, I'm not talking about life as a thing. There isn't anything knowable. You know, you won't find life. Life isn't a separate thing from life. There isn't something else other than what's happening. There isn't something else. That's the wonder. That's all the wonder and beauty of this message, is that there isn't anything else to find. Nothing more or less. So seemingly it could be less, but that's an illusion as well. There couldn't be less than this or more than this. This is the absolute everything, complete and whole, without any requirements. Now that might sound as though you know that, okay, so you become very passive, because there's a lot of spiritual paths that promote passivity, you know, surrender, acceptance. That's not what I'm speaking about at all. This is all inclusive. Life couldn't care less whether you are passive, aggressive, assertive. That's just what's happening. You know, it's all selves who have made some emotions, some behaviors negative and some positive. Life doesn't do that. Me and you do that. Collective me does that. Society, if you want. Because all society is collective self. And woe betide you if you you go against the collective self, or the consensus, you know, the consensus of most me's. There we go. So has anyone got a question they'd like to ask, or just something that they'd like to share? Sharing or questions is fine.
Hi, Tim.
Hi, Jean.
How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Great. I'm so glad to be here. I just love your message. It's so, I don't know, I find myself getting so caught up in the illusion.
Yeah.
And then I come here and I just feel like, I don't know, I just feel like a lot of that washes away when I'm listening to you and I get wrapped up in it again.
Oh, thanks, Anne. No, that's great.
Um,
Even if you only get a bit of temporary relief from me, that's good.
yeah, as much as I can get. I'm glad you're doing Monday, at least this Monday again. I was so excited when I saw that. So I do have a question.
Yeah.
You speak so beautifully about this, and whenever I try to, I seem to get kind of my words all turned around. But I have a question about time. I've heard you say, even today, and other people who speak on this, that our conditioning makes us who we are. But that implies to me that there's time. there's been conditioning of the me over a period of time, and I don't really understand how that fits in with the idea that there is only this ever happening, and it arises and
Yeah.
dies at the same moment, or not even a moment.
No.
So
Yeah.
I find that a little.
There isn't an explanation for that.
Yeah, it's my head trying to figure it out again.
Yeah, again, exactly that. Yeah. It doesn't require any figuring out, Jean, because the human being called Jean is just as she is right now. There isn't someone responsible for how Jean is, or what we're calling Jean. Jean is just as she is, but we can tell a story of, okay, and you know, particularly if you start to, you know, if you look at yourself and your family history, and you look at it's, if you suffer, basically, anyone who's had therapy, first thing we do is we start digging the dirt.
Right.
I know all about that. And that, and once it can seem that that makes the story of my conditioning and how I came to be as I am, it makes it more real. You know, it makes it seemingly more solid. Oh, that's why I now understand. Well, me loves that. Self loves that sense of, oh, now it makes sense. Because all I want to do, self wants to make sense of life. I want to know. I really wanted to know, Jean. I'm sure you do.
Oh, yes.
But but it's very simple why you want to know, why you have that really powerful need to know. It's so that you don't suffer anymore. You'll be able to manage it. You'll be able to control it. That's what self says anyway. If I understand, then I'll be free, I'll be cured, I'll be healthy, I'll be emotionally, I'll be better. It'll be better for me. And so the problem with the conditioning and looking back at our conditioning and making sense of how seemingly we came to be as we are. I came to be as I am because that happened when I was 5. That happened when I was 7. I remember this one incident that has traumatized me. That's so I need to deal. And what it does for self is it gives self a lot of work. And self loves working on itself. That's what self loves more than anything. And that's like manna from heaven for me, because it just gives me more fuel for my fire, that I can progress and I can become whole, because it seems like I'm damaged. So I need to heal the scars. I need to heal the wounds. And of course, it makes perfect sense to me to do all that work on myself. And of course, if that's what's happening, that is what's happening. There's nothing wrong with it. But what it definitely does is it can make me feel even more solid. Because look at the work that I've done on myself. I've heard so many people say it. I've done so much work on myself. And of course, they're still fucked up. They're still dysfunctional, those people, because they haven't done the work. It's such an arrogant thing. Me is arrogance.
Oh, yeah.
It is. I'm powerful. I can change my destiny. I can change myself. I can change the world. I mean, it's all God, isn't it? It's all playing God. And what self has done is made God in his own image. You know, what most people's idea of God is the ultimate ego. You know, I love the sense of power, and what we're talking about is the loss in a way that's unimaginable for me, the loss of all of that, complete powerlessness, complete impotence, complete, I mean, death's not too strong a word, really, because that's what it will feel like to me. And I don't often speak about it this way, but this is the end of death, because there is no one to die. And of course, I don't mean physical death. I mean the death of myself, which is all it ever was for me. What is death, really? It's not physical death. It's my own non-existence. My, you know, that I won't be anymore. No, I am. That's what me fears more than physical death. I can make up all kinds of stories about reincarnation or heaven and hell or any kind of story that, you know, that really I'm a soul, I'm a spirit, and spirit doesn't die. Just all more and more elaborate stories for me to go on existing. And there is a reason for that. It's because I don't exist. And just a few human beings, it seems, might get a taste of that. And if you get a taste of it, there's no going back. It's never to be ignored again. That's how it seems, anyway. That's how it was here. I only had to hear this message once, and it's in my story. It may have taken 10 years or 12 years or even 20 years. But again, it's just a story. None of that happened. So if we want to make sense of this, we talk about conditioning. To come back to your question, Jean, to make sense of this, we talk about conditioning, and then seemingly my life makes more sense. And it makes more sense to me, and me feels a little bit more secure.
I see. Thanks, Tim. That helps.
And really, what is that? All it is what do you have of your conditioning, Jean? You just have some memories. That's what you have. You don't have anything else. And if you speak to any of your family members about your conditioning, I guarantee you they'll disagree with you. That's how flimsy this so-called truth of our past is. I mean, we only have memory. I mean, we could have photographs or videos, but you show videos and that will mean one thing to you, another thing to your sister, another thing to your brother, another thing to your mum, another thing to, you know, there's no reality in it. There's nothing real about it. In that didn't happen in order for Jean to be as she is today, other than the story that we can tell of it. That's all we have. Ultimately, all we have is stories to tell each other, including this story that I'm seemingly telling now, including the story that there's only the story. That's just another story. That's how unknowable what we're speaking about is. You know, it's just, it's not that I'm telling the story and it is the story to end all stories. Stories continue. If we're going to interact with other human beings, then all we do is tell each other stories. There's nothing else. Not that we can speak. Well, you could say there is. There's nothing else. There's nothing. But you can't speak of that. What we're talking about won't be spoken.
Yeah, as Lisa Karen says all the time, it's such a mind fuck.
It's so true. Yes.
Oh my God.
I always loved it when Lisa said that.
She's great.
And it's funny, but it's only a mind fuck if you want to know. If you don't, if there's no need to know, it's not at all. That's incredible. while there is a need to know, which is me, by the way, they're not two separate things. That desire to know is the desire to control and manage my life. They're the same energy. So freedom from that is one of the reasons this is worth speaking about. But it doesn't make it better, because everything is just as it is always, and so it's not what me is looking for. Me's never really looking for the end of me. Of course not. It's not what I want. And the wanting to know, the desire to know, is really very, very powerful.
Definitely. It's, you know, it's something I've done all my life, that seeking, the grasping for it. And you know, as you say, you get a taste of it, and that just makes it more enticing. And yet,
and it does, yeah.
To hear the message that's not where it is. It's very
no, because it's never in this. So what we're speaking about isn't in any experience. It's just not. It's because experience, just as it appeared, is gone. And you go, where the hell did that go? That was brilliant. Let me get that back. So you go back to where you were when you had it. You try and get yourself into the state. You replay it and replay it. And of course, me says I must be doing something wrong, and there must be a right way to get back to that. So you listen to endlessly more speakers. And of course, the ones who are really popular are the ones who give you a way to get back to it. As though you could get back here by a way, you know, there's a path to here. When it's, I mean, you don't have to be very clever to realize that there isn't a path to here. Because you're here. Here it is. It's not. There is no way. And no way is the freedom. And no way is the peace. Because there's no looking for a way anymore. There's no looking for an escape. Because that's what me is always doing. I really, really, me wants to escape from itself.
desperately.
Desperately, exactly. And seemingly for some human beings, it's not that desperate, so they don't do much about it. Apart from try and get more money, or, you know, more love, more relationship, more. There aren't many selves who come to some kind of realization that less would be better. But of course, that's just as illusory. That's as big a that by having less, there would be less of me. It's just equally illusory. You know, there are a lot of spiritual paths that are about less rather than the material paths, which generally are about more. I always laugh at the humility thing, as though humility is, you know, and poverty. So I give away my material possessions. Then I give away the things that I admire about myself. So I surrender those to God or the universe. But what a game for me that is. How superior can I feel in my humility? It's just another game that self would play to feel that it's managing its life in a better way.
Thanks, Tim.
Yeah, thanks, Jane. I've said it before. When someone asks me, and I know how the seeking can be desperate, there is a desire here to say something that might make it better. That comes up. It's funny because that comes up and then nothing can come out because it's just obvious that there isn't anything. How could it, well, I mean, imagine, well, how arrogant is it that one human being, this is therapy, by the way, one human being sits down with another and thinks that it has some suggestions that would improve how their life would be. I mean, it's, yeah. Not surprisingly, it didn't sit very comfortably with me. Myself loved it. And yeah, it felt very wrong most of the time. Even though on the surface, it could be seen as successful, you know, making the self feel better, which is what therapy is. Again, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just what's happening, but it's not. It's just, for most human beings, it's just about making me feel better for a little while. Just for a little while, seemingly, in the story.
Tim, Michael, can you hear me?
Hi, Michael. Hi, Michael.
Hi. Speaking of making me feel better, do you think the idea of taking pills or antidepressants is something that would get in the way of this, or would it just numb you out, or do you have any opinion about that in any way?
Well, yeah, it's really straightforward. My opinion on that, Michael, is that nothing gets in the way of this. So yeah, it's fine. There isn't. It's not neither a hindrance nor a help, nor is anything else.
Yeah.
So although I just talked about therapy, so in the same way, if somebody was really suffering and they, you know, a self was really suffering, and they could go to a therapist and alleviate that suffering. So of course, it would be ridiculous of me to say that there was anything wrong with that. Just the same, I would say, with antidepressants. Antidepressants work for a majority of people in alleviating the pain, the emotional pain of depression, for sure, and anxiety, and most of the things that self brings upon itself. So yeah, there's nothing right or wrong. And if someone came to me and they were in real distress and they asked me about taking antidepressants, I said, yeah, I would always say, yeah, sure. Why not? It's not a problem. This message doesn't have anything to say about, well, this message is compassion. And if you ask my opinion, of course, it's irrelevant, my opinion, because if Michael is depressed and he's thinking about, there's a thought about going to the doctor and getting antidepressants, then that's just what's happening, and that's what will happen. If that's what's happening. It's that simple.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter at all about, this is about nothing mattering.
Mm.
Even if it matters, it doesn't matter. So it's not that nothing matters to this human being, Tim Cliss. The same stuff matters as before. It's just so much lighter because it doesn't really matter. That doesn't make much sense.
Mm.
But that,
yeah.
Are you asking me whether it's, if you're on antidepressants, there's less likelihood of liberation? Is that what you meant, really?
Yeah, well, I agree with what you've said. That would be my view, but I've since doubted myself since talking to somebody else who's trying to sort of persuade me that it's not a good idea and that it's better to go through this and you're halfway through to the shore and all this kind of stuff. And it's,
No,
you know what I mean?
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's a bad. That's saying it's a bad idea for a human being to feel better and not to cry 24 hours a day. It's Doesn't make any sense, does it?
No.
But the truth is, Michael, it'll happen or not, won't it? It's just that's it. So whether you ask others' opinions, or whether the person who is thinking about taking antidepressants ask others' opinions and they give their opinion, who knows whether that has any effect anyway? It will happen or not.
Yeah.
And
that's what I thought. That's good advice, actually.
yeah, but certainly there's nothing right or wrong about it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if a friend came to you and they were suffering and you knew that if they took Prozac then they would feel better, why would you tell them not to? Because you really dislike them. Life becomes much more simple. You know, this isn't about a spiritual path to getting somewhere. So the idea that if you're on antidepressants, you'll be numbing the pain and the pain is the cure. You know, you'll only come to this through the pain. So the more pain, the better. Well, what a ridiculous another story. You know, but that can appear in, I don't know, spiritual paths. There isn't a way to get here. Tim Cliss hasn't got anywhere. And nor is Tony Parsons. Or even Lisa Can. Or anyone, you know, whoever you want to put on a pedestal as they have achieved something, that's all me doing that. It will be very, very obvious when it's obvious that there are no special ones. Even Jose Mourinho is not the special one.
Yeah.
So no, there isn't any help to get to this or any hindrance to get to this, Michael.
Yeah.
There's just this. This isn't in some future. This isn't in the future. There isn't a future. There's nothing to come.
Cheers. Thanks.
Thanks, Michael. Life is so simple when you're not looking to others to explain life. When you're not looking for someone to show you the way. There are no others. So I said there are no special ones. There are no ones. There we go. So there would be no point in asking someone about this. If this becomes obvious that there are no selves and there's no time and there's actually no space and there's no things, there's just what is, and what is equally isn't. And you don't have to tell anyone unless you like speaking, like this character here does, and can't stop telling everyone. If that becomes obvious, you won't have another question to ask anyone. And most wonderful of all, you won't have a question to ask yourself. That is the peace. And that is the love. There are no questions. This is unquestionable. This is the ultimate in obvious. But you can't know it.
Hi, Tim.
Hi, Anne.
You all right?
Yeah, good.
Good. Yeah,
You?
yeah, good, thank you. Yeah. Just on that last point, about the antidepressants,
Yeah,
someone telling you not to take antidepressants because, you've got to go through the pain, as you said.
yeah,
Well, it's just like telling you not to take any other medication. So
yeah,
you can't take diabetic medication
yeah,
or blood pressure pills or,
yeah,
just the same as that, really. So we have to stop all medication
yeah.
to do this so-called waking up. Yeah,
I know.
yeah. Just wanted
Well,
to
there
say.
is, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like saying, yeah, don't take paracetamol, suffer your headache, it'll be good for you.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm,
Mm. Yeah, it's pretty much the same.
mm.
But, I mean, taking medication happens or not. That's it, that's it. Because if that human being is going to take the medication, then that's taking the medication. It's just happening. And it doesn't matter either way. But
And,
it
and
does
nothing's excluded. Nothing
no,
at all is excluded.
nothing.
Whatever goes on in this dream life, this dream character's life, there's no, or you can't do this or you can do that.
No,
It's all inclusive. It's unconditional
absolutely.
love. It includes every single. If it can include paedophiles and rapists and murderers, then it can include taking antidepressants.
Yeah, that's the least of your worries.
Yeah.
No, it's true. Yeah, it's all inclusive.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate holiday, the all-inclusive deal that you've been waiting for. Holiday from yourself. And you don't even get to go on it. It's not a bad analogy being on holiday though, because it is like life is holiday. If I think about how life was for me, I was always just waiting for the holidays. Always. You speak to most individuals, selves, and they would tell you when their next holiday is. In his book it's 11 months away. So they've got 11 months of seeming life, but all they're talking about is their next, when they are free from work. And I think I said this on Thursday, but this is the absence of work, because work is mine. I'm the one who works. And without you, there's no work. There's doing, but nobody doing it. And of course, I'm the one who does the work. So freedom from that is great. Oh, how unprofessional. I haven't turned my phone off. So I've done this as a trial, this Monday meeting, and I decided I'd just do it for an hour just to see how it goes. So we've only got about another 5 or 6 minutes. I just thought I'd just see if an hour was different. Because believe it or not, it doesn't really make sense here, really, but it's very tiring doing a talk. It's like all the energy, I'm completely exhausted. Which, oh, turn your phone off, Tim. So I just thought, no, 1.5 hours too much, so I'll do another hour. We'll see how it goes. And I will put this up on YouTube for anyone to have a look at. But has anyone got any questions? Because we've got 5 minutes. Someone's very persistent. It's got to be important, hasn't it? I should answer it, really. So there's nothing to get. Nothing to get. Marcus, nice to see you. Nothing to get. Nothing to learn. Oh, isn't that great? Nothing to be done. No work to be done. Ooh, whoop, whoop. Who doesn't love a bit of laziness? Come on. You know that it's yourself who's got you out of bed every morning when you really just wanted to lie there and bathe in that glorious emptiness of half awake, half asleep. Ah, bliss. Because somebody asked me about bliss the other day and I went, I don't know. And then I went, oh, no, I do. Oh, I do. Yeah, I do. Yeah. Waking up. There's just aliveness. Don't open your eyes. There's just the aliveness of just all the sensations, and it's absolutely empty, and then full of it, full of the feeling of skin on sheets. I'm making it sound very sensual, and it is. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the full, without it being filtered, unfiltered life, life as it is, in the raw, real. So we can talk about this as a dream, but it's only a dream in the sense of it's not knowable. It's not a dream as in, oh, there's a reality behind the dream. There's something else other than. So I don't tend to talk about dream much more. This is it. Doesn't get any more real. I know you're looking for real. You're looking for truth. You're looking for how it really is. This is how it really is. Isn't it? How else would it be? How else would it be than how it is? It could be otherwise. Is the lie, the story, is the dream. It could not be other than it is, could it? Why couldn't it be? Because it is as it is. That's it. That's the whole message. You can stop looking. Give yourself a break. Have a rest. I know you won't hear it. Me can't hear that. Fuck off. I can't rest. I've got shitloads of work to do. I know, I'm not advising you to rest. Work and rest is all the same. So regardless of how this appears, it is always the same, always different, always new, always exactly the same, absolutely the same. This doesn't move. All the seeming movement is just seeming movement. This doesn't move. It's not going anywhere. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Oh, got you all a bit excited at the end. Lovely to see you all. Thanks for coming to my first Monday meeting. As you've turned up, unfortunately, it means I'm probably going to do it again next Monday. So I'll stick this on YouTube, and then I'll have a normal meeting, hour and a half meeting on Thursday, which again, you're all welcome to join. If you'd like to make a donation, then you can via PayPal. All donations are very welcome. And lovely to see you all.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, Darren. Oh, and thanks, Darren, co-hosting. Darren's helping me. And
Thanks, Tim. Thanks,
yeah, lovely to
Darren.
see you all. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.